Have you ever wondered how some people are super influential and then some people aren't? Have you ever said to yourself, man, I wish I was influential? Or, man, like, what does it really take to have influence? Today, we're going to look at how consistency can create influence for you. And so this really isn't about my story, and it's more about some scientific things, definitions, some understandings of some basics, because anybody can do this. And I'm going to share with you kind of like how this is being done without you even knowing it, and you're being influenced. So let's get into this. A couple of definitions that I want to just kind of bring in, and influence is the first definition. Influence is the power to affect something. That's what influence is. And so, if we're thinking about affecting something, say you wanted to affect your family, right? If you're going to account for your life, you definitely want to affect your family. How would you affect your family? So, influence happens when some really based on what people aren't trying to be influenced. Like, if my mom and dad was trying to influence me, they weren't trying to influence me. They just influenced me because they influenced me by the power they had to affect me, which was the fact that I knew what a parent was. And the fact that once I understood what a parent was, you kind of do what they say. But then you go to school. I'm affected by the principal. I'm affected by the teacher. I'm affected by things around me. So influence is the power to affect. Then, secondly, what is consistency? Consistency is doing something over and over and over and over and over and over. And this is something that, as a business person, marketing is how you can get influence. And it's not that someone's going to be like, oh my goodness, I'm looking for that thing. But what if they just start seeing you all over the place? They start seeing you everywhere. Like when social media today, you can be posting and you can be marketing, and people are like, man, and all of a sudden they start being influenced by the things that you're doing and saying. And they don't necessarily have to be true. Like, you could just make stuff up and people will say, well, that's true because they saw it so many times. Wow. Then what is creation? Creation, what is that? I just want to look at the definition real quick. Oh, that's what it is. It's to bring something to existence. So think about this. If you're gonna be influential, then and you don't have any influence, then you have to bring something into existence by doing something consistently over and over and over and over. And one day you look up and someone says, whatever you've been consistently doing, they now believe it and they've been influenced by it because they may say to you, hey, I see that you've been doing this. Hey, can you help me with that? Hey, I see that you've been doing this. Man, this is amazing. I'm so happy for you. Hey, I see it. Then there's this thing. There's this thing in the brain. So if you want to build consistency, I'm not consistent. If you want to build influence, there's something that can be done to do that. And it's called having an intention. I teach a lot of this intention inside of our um, prosperity initiative program, which really helps business owners, especially newer business owners looking to earn their first six figures or the next six figures, how to be intentional about their business, how to be intentional about their taxes. And so the intention that you have for something, it creates focus that then does something in you that's scientific. And so there's this thing in your brain. It's called the reticular activating system. Have you ever heard of that? The reticular activating system. It's kind of like the reticular activating system is it's like, hey, if say you wanted to buy a car, or say you bought a car and you bought a certain color, all of a sudden you start seeing the same car over and over. Because what happened is where your intentions are, all of a sudden it's just first and foremost, it's like your brain goes out to find everything that looks exactly about what you've been intending. So when we're thinking about consistency, when we're thinking about creation, we're thinking about creating influence, think about media. Think about media. You watch the news. When you watch the news, they have a system that they use to get the news out. They got breaking news. They always going to come with breaking news when it's something that's just happening right now. They've got the lead stories that they come with, just to keep you hooked. What type of stories do they tell? They tell a lot of negative stories. Most of the stories in the news are negative. And they do that to create influence. Because now I'm not telling you that there's an agenda. Could there be an agenda? There could be, but I'm not going to get into that. If there was an agenda, if I had an agenda for something, like with this podcast, I have an agenda. If I have an agenda, then what am I going to do? I'm just going to keep coming with the same types of messages. I'm not going to deviate. I'm not going to act like I'm doing something different because they don't. They don't deviate. They come with the same types of messages over and over. If you turn on the TV, typically in the mornings, what are they talking about? Man, they're talking about killing. They're talking about the deaths. They're talking about politics. Those are the things that they bombard us all day, every day in the news. Why? Because they want to create influence over you, the power to affect someone. So if you were going to consistently do something that creates or that brings something into existence, what would you do? What would you want to do? If you missed the podcast a couple of days ago, it was ditch your career. You should ditch your why why a calling is better than a career. And it's crazy because my wife Jenny, she hits me up. She's out of town and she hits me up. She said, I listened to your podcast. She says it was something different about that one. I said, something different about what do you mean something different about? I don't know. You just seem different. Like you just seem so certain that the calling is more important. I said, I seem more certain than normal. She says, I don't know. It had a weird aura about it. I said, that's interesting. Now, here's the thing. When you have an intention for something, don't you think that you would start believing it more? Even if it was a lie. Like, think about it. If I was telling a lie, the more I told the lie, I would actually believe it. It would become a part of me. People that are good at lying or people that did lying a lot, I'm telling you, I knew some people. I was one of them. I had that in me at some point in my life. But I remember having a good friend, and boy, he was one of the best ones. Yo, at some point, because I felt it myself, you just believe the lies. So when you're now wanting to create something or bring something new into the marketplace, man, we got to look at being very consistent. And consistency is interesting because consistency, that's and really at the end of the day, I don't know how I'm going to get influence. So I can't focus on wanting to get influence. So one of the things that I probably can teach people from my own personal growing in that area is one, how to create something, and then how to stay consistent. I've got a number of things that I've worked on for the past several years. It's master. Well, I'm still not a master of my health. I'm still not a master of it. I don't think I'll ever be a master of it because there's always something to keep tweaking. Now, what happens is you gain the results over time. You keep getting the results. You keep getting the results. That's good. But here's the thing. I don't know. Just with you got to always be navigating this journey of health. So the one thing I had to do was I had to make a decision about how I would focus on it because I didn't want it to be hard. I didn't want it to be more, at least in my mind. I didn't want it to be so challenging that I wouldn't do it. So I just made a decision. I says, well, if because I know that my health is the most important thing to my family, to me and to anybody or to anything. If I don't have health, I don't have anything. So let me just focus on the fact that I should be the best or have or be the best version of me as possible. And that starts with what goes into my body, what and how I work my body consistently over time. I've built the aura of the healthy accountant, doing these things over and over and over, consistent. What else did I do? Then there's this podcast. Then there's this practice time for me. This is practice. And I just took it as practice. Didn't really focus on whether or not I had a lot of listeners, which you want listeners. I just haven't gotten to the right people yet. But and that's okay. God has done something amazing to help me practice through 995 episodes. Well, we're well over 1,000 when it comes to the practice time. But 995 episodes is the practice on this podcast of sharing something about Account for Your Life. That's so interesting. So if you practice something consistently, what do you get? Well, the first thing you get is a badge of consistency. And then you get growing along the way. Something starts to grow within you. So then, so now you have this consistency. Then, well, Jay, how do you just create stuff? How do you create something new? How do you bring something into existence? This one right here was interesting because I had, prior to 2016, I had not created anything ever. All I did was I regurgitated everything that I had in school, and I just kind of worked the stuff that was already available. I had never created anything until I got into a coaching program. I got into this coaching program, and I was told to create a program. I was like, I got to create a program. I need an outline. I need something because I had no understanding of creating something that I'd never done. So the coach had to give me an outline. Give me an outline. So at the end of the day, if you're going to create something, you got to at least outline it. And sometimes you might need somebody to help you outline it first. And that's what happened. I got an outline. And from that outline, my life changed. One outline, my life changed. Now I can create outlines. Now I can create ideas from nothing, from scratch. But they're not from scratch. They're from experiences. They're from just, gathering data. Anybody can do that. Now, a lot of times these things are not necessarily taught to us in school. You know what? I'm a backup. You know what? I can't even say that. That's probably a lie. Here's how I know it's a lie. I didn't do nothing in school. Listen, I didn't do anything in school, so I can't even say that. School may have taught people how to do something. I don't know. They could have taught people how to outline stuff and create stuff from scratch. I don't know. I didn't do it. So here it is. You need to create something. And so if you're going to build influence, people that build influence, they create something and they do it consistently. I don't know. You can check and you can go look around. You can go find people. You can go find success. And what you'll find is someone who created something. And then they stay consistent with it. Their intention for that thing, right? Their intention for that thing was so great. Nothing was going to stop them. All they could see was that thing or is that thing. That's all they saw. So that's really how influence is created. Now, once you do something, see, that's the key. People don't care about anything until they see what you did and say, wow, I wish I could do that. That's when you gain influence, when they say, I wish I could do that. But you may not know that. Somebody can say, I wish I can do that, but never say anything to you. You could be having influence on people, but not know it. Is it our job to even care? It's not. Because the thing that we should care about the most is creating and being consistent. That's it. The influence part, that's not something that we get to. We can, what's the word I'm looking for here? We can control influence. The people that try and control influence, typically they're not necessarily on the good side. So we don't have to try and control the influence. Allow people to be influenced and allow themselves to do whatever they want with that influence. Our job is to create. Our job is to stay consistent, not because we want influence, but because that's who we are. See, at the end of the day, guys, when you account for your life, you will have influence because your life will be a life full of consistency and creation. Your life will look like what other people want. And so when other people want something and they see your life, they see your accomplishments, they see your consistency, they see how you did something, they say, man, I wish I could do that. Not that we care. I don't care if someone wishes they can do it. I'll say, you can do it too. They said, well, man, how do I do it? Then that's when hey, if you don't have a business, go start one. Because if you consistently done something, you created something, then that means people are going to want to buy it at some point. They're going to want to buy it. And if they want to buy it, you've got to sell it. There's a proverb that says, people love the one who sells the grain and they hate the one who won't sell it. So if you've got something worth something, then you've got to sell it to people once they want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't just want them to buy it just for the sake of buying it. We want them to buy it because they know they want it or they need it. So what are we getting out of this today? Here's what we get from this today. Influence is not necessarily our job. Our job is not to control the influence. Our job is to create something, bring something into existence, and then consistently do it over and over. That's how consistency creates influence in 2024. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. Be sure to check out the description under this video. Cool resources. I got a brand new book in there, Living Life on the Next Level. 7 key principles, right? 7 key laws that can help you change your life so you can live your life on the next level. Check out that book. It's on Amazon. The link is there. So you can click it and buy it and get it for yourself so that you can live your life on the next level. God bless you guys. I will see you on the next episode. Peace.
This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.